abilities found in reality. All without pre-drawn conclusions found in personal bias. No left or right wings here. No pounding the pulpit of ego-driven my way or the highway attitudes. But there are no free passes given either. Answers to questions are important, but equally important is the reasons and methods used to find the answer. The lack of contradiction is the final judge here on Feet to the Fire. Feet. Sunday evenings, 8 to 11 Eastern. Fire. How do you listen? www.feet2fire.com for more information.
The views expressed in the following show are of the host, the guest, and the callers. The content of the following show, its accuracy, authenticity, and the ramifications of the use or application of said content is the responsibility of those speaking and listening, not the broadcast medium. Here we are, Beat the Fire. I'm your host, James Althayanchek, the Black Knight of Talk Radio. We are live. Last week, no show, or no broadcast. I don't like calling it a show, because I'm not like a show, like zippity-doo-dah, you know, I mean. But on the other hand, all life is a show, I guess. But we're back and live. We have, the chat room is open here on this Facebook Live thingy. Used to run my own chat room, but it's much easier for people to go to, even if you pause the show, you can still come in there, which I don't know why you would do that, but also, of course, being on YouTube, it's phone-friendly, tablet-friendly, what have you. So if you're out and about, you can join in on your cell phone. I guess the bandwidth may be an issue, depending upon your plan. And so I wish that YouTube would offer an audio-only stream, but it is what it is. You can't beat the cost, which is free. So there we go. A few things. Let me go back just for a second to show people about the website. I have opened up a new website. Well, it's not that new anymore. I guess it came up March, but I'm trying to keep everything updated and still switching over information from the old website. Recommend you go to the old website for all the other features that I've had on there, because HTML was much easier than screwing around with the WordPress. But I have been putting the items up there. Some stories I posted, original commentaries and whatnot. Plus, there's the shows and any kind of news that I may think about and put up there. Also, I added a link to FreeJack TV, which is carrying Feet to Fire live programming. Or not live, but the archived of the live various things. Rob, tell Rob you heard about their place here. There is a free version and a subscription. Of course, subscriptions are there because somebody's got to pay for all of this. It's not like they're becoming rich on it. It's a little more labor of love. I've known Rob for years. Also, I copied over. I had a whole mess of links that go on. This goes back for many years. I've been doing the radio show, live radio show, 15 year, in the 15th year. And so over the years, I've acquired links to stuff that I thought would be of value. I mean, it doesn't mean I agree with it or all of it, but it's of value. And I think it is anyway. So I post those over there, and I have figured out how to put them up on the new website. So you can go over there and link to it, or click the links. And I'm going to be trying to work on getting the main articles and copies and stuff onto this page. Right now, I've been using YouTube, or I'm sorry, Facebook, kind of like a crutch, because I'm not a real big fan of it for many reasons. And so I've been using it basically as a crutch. Go to that. But also this week, I've also used Twitter for content. So we'll be going through the Facebook and Twitter. Now, I haven't done a show in 2 weeks. And so I know the news cycle is, like this. So for me to talk about stuff that happened 2 weeks ago, I may dip into some of it. Now, I'm going to get my 2 cents in on this Russian lawyer deal with Donald Jr. off time. But also what I've done, if for people who don't know this, I have actually a couple of Facebook pages. Let me see if I can switch to it here. I've been trying, I think I'm going to put the more notable political stuff on this extremist left watch page, because I'm cluttering up my own personal page with this stuff. And for anybody who's still left as a friend after this clearing that happened with the Donald Trump stuff, I'd like to not always get into that stuff on my homepage. So I'm going to be utilizing that more. You could just go to, I believe if you look it up in there, you just put extremist left watch. The actual link is facebook.com left extremist / left extremist. And if you follow it or whatever, yeah, follow it. Then you get noted whenever I put it. If you're so inclined. Also, we have the Feet to Fire one, which basically what I've been doing is putting show information on there. So I don't have a lot of time, unfortunately, to promote this stuff, which is, one of the problems I've had over the years. But there you go. The Twitter feed. Let me take a wide picture of this. It's Jajancik, James Arthur Jancik. You can hook up with that, and you could then get my feeds that I have going there. So let me go through those feeds now while we're talking. Yeah, some of this recapping, Donald Trump took a meeting with a Russian lawyer who claimed to have some info on Hillary Clinton. And when he got there, he realized that that was just a foot in the door. And what was happening is she wanted him to take off work on some kind of banning of adopting. Well, Russia put a ban on adopting Russian children to America, which apparently is a common event. And because of sanctions that the U.S. had, so that, that was, and when he heard all that, he walked out. Now, this is what, of course, he is saying, and sounds pretty straight up, especially since he released his emails instead of destroying them. He didn't hack up his computer. He didn't smash his BlackBerries. So, but now, the left is, because they have nothing to go on. There's absolutely nothing. I talked to a friend of mine who doesn't have the advantage of listening to the alternative media sources on the web. And I said, there's no evidence. There's nothing. He goes, you're doing all this stuff for nothing? They're having all these years, all these months, all these people. Yes. They're hoping to find something so they can get rid of him, Trump. They're hoping, they're fishing, but there's nothing there. So now they have this stuff, and Time Magazine had a cover that said red-handed, and it's got a picture of Donald Trump Jr., kind of in a downward gaze. You could find, that's why, when you wonder why, when you have photographers and they have the automatic shutters, and they're taking all these pictures, they're waiting for that perfect picture. If you're doing a good piece, you look for that perfect good piece. And if you're doing a bad one, you look for that real bad one. So, but now what's come out is the Secret Service had to allow her in to see in the United States, and the Justice Department under Obama had to okay her input because she overstayed her visa and stuff. So you have the Obama people who are part of letting her in and approving her, and now it's, he's meeting with the Russians. Well, they all approved it. So either it was a setup or no big deal, but they're trying to make it a big deal. So anyway, this Jack Posobiec, gosh, I can never say his name right. God bless him. He released this tweet. where you have, see, I'm cutting it a little tight. Maybe move this up here. There we go. Lynch ordered Manafort's phone tapped during the visits from the Russian lawyer. I'm not even going to try and say her name. Something Skaya. Netinskaya or something. Vesel Netinskaya. I can't even say any big English names, let alone foreign ones, so forgive me. So Lynch ordered phone tapping. This is a thing that came out on there. I mean, so they all know this stuff's going on, and then it comes out now of all times. Why now? Why didn't they play this card earlier? I guess this is, we're digging into the reserve stuff. Let's see. Yeah. You know, let me just sum up some of these ones. Senator McCain met with people and dealt with a foreign agent, British, to get information on Trump. Now, he's a Republican, so if there's supposed to be this whole idea of Republicans are ganging up, he went and got this stuff and then went and hand-delivered it to the FBI. Now, they already knew about this, saw it, and didn't use it at that time. But you have him corroborating with a foreign agent to get information on a presidential candidate. So you have that going on, and that's okay. And then you have Hillary Clinton meeting with Ukrainian agents to get information on Donald Trump. That's okay. But Don Jr. walks in the office, possibly getting information on Hillary, finds out it was just a lost leader, so to speak, to get him in the room, and he leaves, and it's like, oh my gosh, caught red-handed. I mean, it's so embarrassing. We look, I don't know. The people who realize that this is a neo-Bolshevik revolution, a neo-culture revolution, and they're fighting to get rid of Trump, who is going to his policies, if enacted, some of his own party are doing it. The deep state's against them. The left is against them. If you realize this, and a lot of the people who are on that side are going to play along. Oh yes, this is terrible. But a lot of people who are on the outside and see this is a political coup move. You know, they laugh at it. They're like, what is with these people? So we are becoming a. Yeah, here's some more tweets I passed. Don Jr. releases his own emails and the media loses their mind. Hillary deletes 33,000 and media tells us not to worry about it. This is the stuff. Now, let me go back to a theory. What I'm at here at this time is I got Darth Vader has checked into the room, in the chat room. Digital Diva, boiling nuts. So, hi to you. Oh, now I just shot myself in the foot. Getting ready to do a whole thing here, and I just lost it. See, that's one of my problems is when I get ready to say something, I don't know if this is old age, brain damage, whatever, but I'll load up my cache, what I'm going to say, and then I'll see something else, and I go, oh, and I deal with that, and then it just fades away. And I come back to it, and there's nothing there. So, and we were talking about Donald Trump, and, well, I'll just move on. It may come back to me. Now, let me go to this other, I'm going in an order here. There may be more on the Facebook side, but this UK judge gives Charlie Gard's parents 2 days to prove why he shouldn't be killed. I mean, the judge didn't say that in those words, but that's what it comes down to. Now, what is a judge got to do with anything in this? I mean, you have people who are aborting. I understand that a child being born and a child in the womb, they've drawn that arbitrary line. So until it comes out of the womb, wanted anyway, it can be partially aborted, birth aborted. But if the child is wanted, then it's a child and it has certain rights. And if it's not, then you could just chop it up and do whatever you want with it. Well, here's a child who's made it out of the womb, and it has a very challenging death disease. The parents raised the money to bring him to America to try a technique which apparently has cured 2 people. She's raised the money for this. And the judge is saying no. So they gave him 2 days to come up with something. And it's probably on the Facebook side. The judge apparently it's not you're supposed to have an honest inquiry, and it isn't. So, you tell me, it's not only, people talk about single-payer health care and whatnot, where they can determine and withhold potential life-saving drugs because the odds are against them, etc. You got Margie in the chat room. Hello. So, I can, they're withholding these drugs. I can see them. I can't see the argument withholding the treatment because if the odds aren't good enough. I don't like that argument. But that's not even in the argument. They have their own funds. So to move this child from that hospital to a hospital who have experimental surgery where the odds are highly against them, but a couple have been saved. Plus, they said even if their child dies, the data that they can gather may help other children down the road. And the judge says, no, it'd be more dignified if the child dies. Huh? Now, I understand what he means by more dignified, meaning that they'll be be extended. But this is what it comes down to. This is the real rub. It's eugenics. This child has a super high probability, if he survives, of having some kind of brain defect. And do we want another brain defect cluttering up the system? This is a eugenics move. It's better to die with dignity than to live and be a burden to society. Just telling you. So it's not even the fact that they got their own money to go back do the surgery, but eventually this child would assumingly return back into the UK, back into the system, and be a drain on the system. This is what's at stake. Don't give me this dignity crap. They're partial birth abortion kids, ripping them out, cutting them up, and selling the parts, and you're going to say, well, we're going to have dignity? Come on. It makes me absolutely ill. So, Americans, you do have a little touch of single-payer health care from the government. Because the one who has the money, has the strings, and can decide life or death, and they laugh at Obamacare, they laugh at the death panels. That's all Republican nonsense. Here we go. This is even a step further, though. It's not even good enough about money. It has to be future productivity. So the next step on this is that when you have kids who are born with trauma, they just let them die. And then the next step is to actually take the ones that have been alive for a while, have been on the system for a while, and then start pulling some plugs or start, harvesting organs. This is the slippery slope. Now, people could say, it won't go that way. Well, look at this. Here's a person who's got money to go fix their own kid, help their own kid, and they won't say no. Gosh, it drives me nuts because basically, I come from a spiritual perspective, and Jesus being my ultimate spiritual teacher and literal savior in my life. The teachings thereof, and I wrote this in my little text. Let me see if I can find it now. I can quote the text better than try to remember it. I had note to the courts. I had note to the courts. It is better for you to have a millstone put on your neck and thrown into the sea than to have one of these little ones stumble. And people can read all kinds of theology into it. Stumble from the faith, keep them from... Yeah. But, having them die isn't exactly not keeping them from the faith. So it just irritates me beyond. God bless those parents. Can you imagine what they're going through? They have the money. They have them. I can't get over this. They have the cash. People donated cash. Enough. They have a hospital in America who's waiving fees. They got doctors are willing to go to England. And if the child dies, or if the child has a compromised life, it's still a life, and it's the parents should have the right to make the decision, not the state. The state, for crying out loud. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry, actually. Donald Trump finally got to shake hands with Putin, got to meet with him. They have a 30-minute meeting scheduled. 2 hours later, they come out with a ceasefire and a bunch of stuff. Ridiculous. This could have happened right out of the gate. It could have met right out of the gate and started the ball rolling. But this whole goofy Russian collusion delusion it's a method of treason. And you can see why dictators step in. I mean, they got their own problems too. But they could come in and just say, no, get these people out of here. But, absolute power corrupts absolutely, so you can't do that. You got to have this. But something should be done to call out these people. I mean, the media's not. I mean, you're going to what Fox maybe will do some of it. And then you have the alternative media jumping up and down and screaming. Actually, they got a lot of more viewers, technically, so it's ridiculous. Right, you probably should go through my feed. I'm going to try and scroll down here for some topics. I had a bunch. It's old now, but Trump talking in Poland, that was good. And of course, what does the media say? Well, the right-wing political polls bust in these people to cheer. No pictures of buses, no evidence. And yet, when they have some of these Black Lives Matter stuff, there has been people filing all these buses parked a few blocks away. And, of course, the mainstream didn't do that either. But it's just ridiculous how these things, people could just say things. Maxine Waters, I can't, I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. Poland has always been friends with America. I went to Poland. I went to Gdansk, and I stopped in Warsaw, but I was just in and I'm telling you, one of the amazing things about Gdansk is that they completely leveled the main part of the city, at least the main drag. We'll call it Main Street. I don't know what it is called. It leveled it. Piles of rubble, which used to have 2 and 3 story residential, and business would be on the bottom. And I saw the pictures of the buildings before World War II. They got a book. They got a before and after kind of book series, and they had pictures of it before, just rubble. And then they have pictures. I have a picture of before. Looks nice. Then there's the rubble of the World War II bombings with the Russians and the Germans. And then you have the reconstruction, and they built each building back to what it looked like. They went and recreated what it was. So when you looked at the new buildings afterwards, and you got an A-B comparison before and after the reconstruction, you're looking at them, you're going, it looks the same. I mean, it looks the same down to every little detail. They rebuilt those buildings. That's phenomenal. This is Poland. And the Poles are big behind and supporting America, and I don't want them just to be abused. They're not going to let any refugees in. They're like, no, none, zero. And their country's fine. No terrorist attacks, no problems, no unrests. And they're being under pressure from the EU. They're going to start having sanctions. So Trump popping up there and giving a big thumbs up, and we got to support our society and all these other things. Great timing because of what's happening in there. So that was good to see. That was cool. Now, Judicial Watch, I want to point them out too. Judicial Watch has been doing some good work. They've been suing the bejesus out of getting documents and whatnot, and they're just going after everybody. So we're waiting to see. Yeah, this is kind of old. This is old news. July 3rd, old news. But Paul Farhi wrote a story commenting about James O'Keefe's sting, and said that he didn't tell the people that the guy he talked about was from Atlanta, not New York, giving it the idea that this guy was less important. But he did say he's from Atlanta. And so James O'Keefe sought for a retraction, and you could see, oh, we're not on here. Sorry, I got myself here. There we go. You could see in the retraction, he says, sorry to disappoint you folks, there's no retracting. Your tweet appears to be fake news. Well, editors note, the story has been updated to remove the assertion in video in question. It did not say the supervisor was from Michigan Land. In fact, he did. And he quotes him, he did. So James O'Keefe came up with a priceless little video where he shows him hanging up on his wall of fame and shame, he calls it. He tells of the story, all the tweets, and then the retraction. I love it. I absolutely love that when these smart-ass, pompous, partisan liars, or they're not interested in truth, let's put it that way. They get nailed by, you know, like a street, they look at him as some kind of a, I don't know, street urchin reporter. And so they come up and nail him. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, that's up and updated. So I guess this is where, yeah, I guess where I left off from last time. So let me go to, switch to the feed, Facebook view. Oh yeah, here we go. Hoaxed. Mike Cernovich is producing a movie called Hoaxed: The Media's War on Truth, and you can, well, I guess he wouldn't mind if I played a little. Oops, I'm gonna have to go to the widescreen here. I played the little promo. I'm sure he would.
Fake news articles, outrageous and salacious.
Toxic paranoia.
Baseless allegations.
Preying on the credulous.
Potentially reaching millions of people. Spreading conspiracy theories.
And foments hatred of media.
This is insane.
As a fake news story has turned into something very real.
Oh, and when they say fake news, that includes any reporting that contradicts their leftist narrative.
You are fake news.
Very dishonest.
Relentless left-wing bias.
Blatant lies.
It is an agenda.
What you've just seen are two different definitions of fake news, but both of them can't be true. What is real news and what is fake news? That's what you're going to learn in Hoaxed: The Media's War on Truth. Fake news created the greatest economic recession since the Great Depression. It causes wars and is now causing domestic terrorism in America.
The White House used the New York Times to have made the case for war in Iraq.
The United States will treat cyber attacks just like any other attack.
Bear Stearns is fine.
I've been a journalist for 25 years, and I was educated to lie, to betray.
What CNN is doing is they're essentially creating infomercials for dictators.
And that's why we're doing Hoax: The Media's War on Truth. But we need you to be part of this. This is a project for the people, of the people, by the people. We are going to take down the fake news media. No more of this basic, boring, oh my God, there are double standards going on. This is going to be a full frontal attack on the fake news media. We're going to expose the frauds, the people who are robbing the nation of the money, the people who are causing wars, the people who are destroying this country and this entire planet. So join me, be part of this. We'll fight them together. We will take down and destroy the fake news.
There you go. You can go to this. I'm sure you can.
Fake.
I'm sure you can search it. Kickstarter and then search for Hoaxed. But I will have the links, you know, at the bottom when we're done with the show. But it looks nice, and I heard him talking about it. He's hired some good directors. It's going to be top shelf production. He had a goal of 100,000 to be reached by Monday, July 31st, and they've already reached it. But he estimates the budget about 250 to make this right. So you can keep on keeping on and do this. And he accepts dollars. $1. You got $1? You can do it. You know, it's pretty good attitude on the whole thing. I saw him talking about it, so I wanted to mention that. Looks like it'd be a good thing. I'd love this picture. I wonder if I can click to make it bigger. Yeah, I can. Ben Garrison. Nothing Burger. Something Burger, and it's got all the Hillary Clinton stuff listed on there. And it's not... What I look at, reason why I bring this stuff up, is not that You know, it's kind of bad when someone answers charges by pointing to someone else, right? And that's the kind of not why I'm doing this. It's that it's the hypocrisy. It's like, oh, we're going to, you know, have this meeting with this lady approved by the Justice Department, allowed in, approved by Secret Service. They have this meeting, and oh my gosh, you know, there's nothing. There's nothing there. And then Hillary's got so much stuff that you don't even. Speaking of Hillary, yet another person is dead. I want to actually, I saved the graphic for this. It's a little, the graphic isn't as great as I'd like it to be, but I found it. And yet another person has suicided himself. The guy was just going to open a restaurant. His family is totally shocked. No hint of anything. But he's being called. He was going to testify exposing the Clinton Foundation in Haiti. Boom! See if I can find that. What did I do with it? Oh, there's. I'll get to that in a second. Load this page. Get to that too. Here it is. The Clinton body bags. It's a great graphic that you can find on there. It lists all the individual. This is not current. They got to put a few more on there. But that's one thing. Some of these people are arguable. You know, I understand that. But look at the bottom one. This is the part that hit me. The following Clinton bodyguards are dead. What are they, 90 and they died of heart attacks? The bodyguards are dead? Anyway, do a search for that. You'll find it. It's various places. I might as well, since I showed you, I wanted, you know, this is our dog. It was, oh, look at this dog. How muscular this dog is getting. It's a Jack Russell, 3/4 Jack Russell, 1/4 Rat Terrier. I mean, this picture, you could see, it almost looks, I almost look embarrassed, like he's naked or something. You can see his body. It's actually a she. But man, this dog is really, you know, it had surgery. It was fixed. I don't know if that's and he just hops up on there like a goat looking out there. That's Molly. So a little update on him. I had those pictures up there going out of sequence here, but that's me, not linear. There is the links I have about the Haitian officials. Okay, here's something I put on there I wanted to talk about. Got a couple more things, but some more main topics. I have a New York Times article, which is from AMP, explaining that Bitcoin, which has been tanking, what's going on? And the question would be, what's going on? Why is Bitcoin tumbling? I mean, I've made a bunch of money on a couple of ones that a couple of cryptos I bought, and now I'm starting to go into the red. Okay, because they've fallen that much. I've almost doubled my money at one point, and now I'm in the red. But I'm going long term, and I can explain that in a minute. But the problem is that when you do an exchange of a Bitcoin, say you want to buy something, there is a verification process. If you go through, like online, if you do it to the guy next door or directly through wallets on the internet, there is no checking, per se, that I'm aware of. But the Bitcoins that are bought and sold on the markets and whatnot are verified by the miners who mine them, who mathematically discover them. And they do it. Now, the problem is that because Bitcoin is becoming very popular, the lag time for verification and whatnot is getting big. If you notice, everybody pays attention to the exchanges, you'll see a notice. Today, Bitcoin exchanges are running far behind. It may take longer than anticipated for this. I know when I bought the first Bitcoin, it was took them like 5 days. But they did freeze the price, which was nice. So this is the issue. They've apparently come up with a new system. Excuse me. They come up with a new system on verification, but the miners aren't thrilled about it, because apparently the miners will get a little piece of the action in the verification process. Because I know when I bought it, there was a charge on top. So apparently this new system, which is faster, kind of somehow puts a kink in them getting paid, or I don't know to what extent that part is, but the bottom line is the miners are not happy about this, and a lot of people are signing on to this new Bitcoin 2.0, this check system. It doesn't affect the Bitcoin in and of itself, or hacking or any of that stuff. If you lose your key for your own personal security key, it's gone forever. There's no way to find out. You can't write somebody. So that's still the same. It's just that what's happening is they're arguing about. So what potentially could happen is that Bitcoin people could start taking a side and splitting into two. Some doing the old school way, some doing the new way. So now the new way ones won't be verified as way the old ways were, and now you're going to have. It's going to be nasty. So the question for people is, do you think they will? Because they put an arbitrary July 31st in order to figure this, and a lot of people are going to go forward with the 2.0. So the problem seems to be, do we go ahead with the 2.0 and say, oh, well, miners, too bad. And so that this is what they're looking at. I think they'll come together to try and work this out because the risk is too high. I mean, it risks the whole existence of Bitcoin. Why? I can't answer why Ethereum and all, some of these others are going down too. I don't know. I don't know why they're not related. I mean, it's a cryptocurrency that it's a particular number that is limited in how many they make, and therefore they can be used to hold value and secure. And I don't know why that would be affected as well. But there's a backlog of people trying to dump their Bitcoins. And so that same backlog, by the time they get to sell it, it'll go down even more. So the question is to people, do I get out of it or do I hold on? And I say, without reservation, hold on. In fact, right now is a good time to buy Bitcoins. There are now... Bitcoin actually, at one point, I don't have it up. Or maybe I have it over on my other. Yeah, I have it on the other computer. Bitcoin has bounced back a little bit. At one point, it went below where I bought it. So, let me see what the numbers are. Ethereum is really, it's not down to its lowest that I've seen, but it's down below I paid. And Litecoin is still up. Bitcoin is getting higher, so that's good. Maybe it's on a rebound. But, now is a good time to buy them. If you got some cash laying around, it's a good time to throw some in there because the model, what we're talking about, is Bitcoin is supposed to be a potential backing for future currencies in a post-dollar world in particular. And it would be the backbone because of its unhackable, uncorruptible, limited source. Like gold has never limit. You can find more gold. You can so it's not even limited where this does. And people say, well, gold has real value. These are just numbers. Gold doesn't have any real value other than electronical value, perhaps gold teeth. Everything else is emotional. The value in gold in a ring or in jewelry, it's emotional. The value of gold is holding money value. It's emotional. It's not. It doesn't have it inherently. So the idea of a Bitcoin holding value is going to be more intellectual. It's going to be more logical because it's a limited piece. So if people agree to have value in gold, of course it'll keep going, and it has for thousands of years. So you have that historical momentum where this is brand new stuff. Excuse me. So we'll see. But I look at these and I'm watching it tumble. I'm going, what the hell's going on? So I did some research and I found out. But hopefully they'll come up with some kind of an agreement because I don't know how inside each other's heads they both think they can go on without the other one. Because unless the miners are going to mine them and keep them, but that's what they're. I mean, if they were doing that, they would just keep them. But they're selling them anyway. That is that particular issue I wanted to cover. Here's a great story. In California, attempts to ban child marriage met with opposition. What? Now, I know the child marriage issue is coming out publicly because of Islam, or I should say some of the more radical Islam where they marry children. And so this could be an issue for, well, you know. But here's the thing I want to bring up, and I should have wrote this on a response to this. I might just do it. Is that back a ways, and I don't have a date. I probably should look this up. Mormon church used to have a sanctioned practice of multiple wives. Now, some still would do it, but it's officially not sanctioned by the church. And they were fighting the United States based on religious freedoms. And the United States took them to court, and the court ruled that this was more of a... Well, I can't speak to their actual ruling. The ruling was against the Mormon church. I believe it was about the idea of the human, like a slavery, human rights type of a look, having multiple wives. And so they were ordered to stop doing this, or they were going to confiscate their financial holdings. And I'm sure somebody who has better research on it can give the whole story about what it was. But they acquiesced. The prophet Brigham Young went to talk to God, and they gave him a dispensation because he thought it would be better for the Mormon church to continue to help people and save souls, if you will, rather than, this is God talking to Brigham Young, rather than them be torn apart financially. So, of course, from that, now what the Mormon church has done is it has spun off into two different directions. You have the, I think it's called the Church of Latter-day Saints now, LDS. You have the church, and then you have, which is a nonprofit, and then you have a for-profit entity that owns, you know, some large number of Utah. So they have them split now, so if the church does something, I think they can't get at the other side. That's probably what happened because of that. But what I'm saying is there is precedence of church taking the freedom of religion a little too far and having it done. Of course, look at there's been cases where people wanted to have marijuana for their church, but it lost because they said that the marijuana, the church was just thrown together to get marijuana. So, but it's funny. Attempts to ban. Now, I want to mention another thing about California. They had they decriminalized child prostitution. And a big hoopla came up against California. Oh, they're trying to legalize prostitution. The idea was, and it has merit, is that it's illegal for the pimp to prostitute minors or anybody. And I think minor might have a greater penalty. But the law was that the child was not charged. So when they break up a prostitution ring, they arrest the guys and all this stuff, but the underage people don't have the arrest and conviction record. They will go to some kind of, you know, therapy. Hopefully it's decent therapy to help them. But that's the idea behind it. It doesn't mean it's legal to have prostitution. I guess if you had a child working on her own, it would be, there's nobody to arrest except the John or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what it is for boys. So but that's the kind of thing you got to look at. In this case, there's no reason to have child marriage. None. There's none. There's no way to explain this. There's no, well, you see, because if this happens, that, no, there's no reason. It's ridiculous. I don't care if Abraham did it or Muhammad. That doesn't matter. It's like some of the radical Islam, well, they kill people for gay or whatever and stuff like this. Well, you know, that doesn't mean it's okay. I want to mention this part too. I'm getting really winded here. I'm longer than I wanted to go. I had to have an early start, but Putin talks about the meeting he had with Trump. Trump did press him about the election. But this is a quote from reading what Putin said that I thought was very interesting, and I'll read it here. The Trump you see on TV is very different from Trump in real person, Putin told reporters. He's very specific. He's able to understand what you tell him. He analyzes your words pretty quickly, and he is able to respond. He answers your questions, or he responds to whatever may come up in the course of the conversation. Now, you would hope that that would be true, but because the way the media has made Trump look like he's everything from mentally ill to incompetent to Hitler to whatever, it takes President Putin to tell you that no, actually the guy's a pretty good. Well, he's a billionaire. He built a business. He lost a ton of money in the crash, the market crash, the housing market crash, and he still came back. So I thought that was good, and I think if Putin and him can work together, but you got the deep state behind pushing about this, about Russia and in Syria. So you think about it's funny. I'm not defending Putin, Trump, because I'm pretty much apolitical, but I got what he said to do was good for the country. When you have the Democrats being incredibly partisan, over the top, treasonous, if you ask me, against him. They want him dead, jailed, impeached. They don't care what reason, when, how. If somebody happens to shoot him, oh my gosh, well, it's his own fault but his rhetoric isn't what they say it is. If people would listen to the man and watch his speeches and read the stuff and not the media talking about it, you'd say, there's two different people you're talking about. Anyway, so it comes out where I find myself defending truth, which happens to be some of what Trump is saying. So when somebody writes in a tweet to me and says, yeah, your man defrauded all his contractors and he built a university to defraud people, I'm like, no. If he defrauded all his contractors, he'd be out of business because nobody would work for him. The word would be out throughout the contractors, and no one would touch him. So that's ridiculous. Now, there could be problems with individual guys, and because of the volume of what his work and all that, they could pile up to be dozens over the years. But if he was ripping off all his contractors, nobody would work for him. So that's ridiculous. And secondly, that whole Trump University, he was going to fight that to the end, but then this thing called winning the presidency came along, and so he just tossed in $20 million to settle out of court. They were quite happy with the settlement. He settled out of court to have it go away so he can run to the presidency. It's just amazing to me how things can be twisted around. All right, I'm trying to think. I want to go back. I think I'm done with... Okay, there's two more things. Okay, I'm going to do this one first. The study finds temperature adjustments account for nearly all of global warming, quote unquote. And I have it's just actually another story up there. Oh, gee. There are several people doing this. If I could explain it to you, what happened is when they took the measurements from the buoys, from the ships, and all this stuff, they figured out that, well, this temperature actually says this much. But because of mitigating factors, it's actually a little higher. This is what they've done. So they have increased all the data unilaterally across time. And here's this graph shows, to make it higher than it is, which would show that the temperature spikes are actually higher. When you remove that back to the actual normal temperatures that were there, you could see that it markedly goes down, and it goes. It takes up much of the global warming that's being done, and this is the stuff that doesn't get out or wouldn't get out based on the gatekeeping of the science community. You have to be a global warming believer to be let in the door. It's like if you're a teacher, you can't go in and teach conservative politics in school. You have to be liberal, or if you happen to go along with creation scientists or alternative, at least to the current mainstream of how the Earth started. How the Earth and how the universe begun. No one was there to see it. This is all theory. These are all theories that when pieces come along that support it, they go, see, look at. And when they don't, they toss them out. Great book to read, Forbidden Archaeology. Of course, now I see his face, so I can't think of his name. It'll come. But look up Forbidden Archaeology. That'll take care of it. He goes through all the... It's an exhaustive book, huge book, full of zillion examples where they found things that don't fit into the chronology that they have. And that's anomalous. One of my favorites was they found a trinket inside a chunk of coal. And the coal was, I don't know, 160 million years old, I don't know, whatever. And there's a trinket inside it. How did it get inside the coal? Well, maybe there's a different way of coal forming, and it actually forms a little quicker, and the measurement of it is wrong. But see, they won't, because they're attached to the way they measure it. So here you have the various, I got links to it. I'll put all these links up underneath. You can look at it yourself. But I thought it was quite interesting that this study finds almost all of the data. Now, you're going to see it on, like, the Gateway Pundit and the Daily Caller, which are these, quote, right-wing, racist, white supremacists, and all the other nonsense they come up with. Those are all just words that keep you from looking. So if you're somewhat of a liberal, progressive person, and you want to check out what they say, well, wait a minute, this doesn't... Oh, that's because they're this, that, and the other, then you don't go there. So they try to get you not to look at it. But if truth is truth, you should look at all evidence, and truth will stand up if you want truth. If you don't want truth, and you want to have your way of thinking, well, there you go. So when you look at these items, look at the data, look at the study. Here's a click. Oh, you click on the study, you can get the actual study, which I won't... I'll put the links down. You remember that part anyway. But that's one thing I wanted to do. I got less visible, too, by the way, to cap off the show. Oh, another thing. Czech Republic plans to combat terrorism by arming its citizens. They're going to put a Second Amendment, so to speak, inside their constitution because to help people be protected. Those crazy Czechs, right? Actually, a part of my ancestry is Czech. There's Charlie Gard. God, what a ridiculous thing. I talked earlier about that. Yeah, I wrote an article. This goes back to about the 4th of July. Perhaps the greatest phrase written by humans is, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. They are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and a pursuit of happiness. What a fantastic statement. And granted, it's taken years to apply to more people, but the statement is true nonetheless, regardless if they had slaves when they wrote it. As as things matured, it became more globally applied. Climate policy. Well, okay. All right, we got all that stuff. I missed one. I wanted to go back to this. Well, this is something I've been doing now. I've been doing it officially for a week. I read the book over my work, and it's Mercola, Fat for Fuel, by Joseph Mercola. And it's not made for losing weight, though you will if you follow it. It's made for rebuilding your mitochondria, which fights a bazillion diseases. In fact, not having healthy mitochondria is the cause of a bazillion diseases. So to read its little thing here, Fat for Fuel, new book by Dr. Joseph Mercola, talks about a revolutionary way to help combat cancer, boost your brain power, and increase your energy. So I'm not going to go into the whole thing on it. I mean, I can. We can have a show on it if you'd like. I don't think I can get Dr. Mercola. He's rather busy, and he's rather, you'll see him on CNN. Stuff like that. Oh, he was on Alex Jones' show, which is cool. But basically what you do is you train your body off to get off of glucose and onto burning fat. And he goes through and talks about how Atkins had it right, though his way was more dirty in the byproducts that actually harm the cells, but you do lose weight. This way, you're actually getting the right fats to burn along with the fat you have on your body, and a proper amount of protein. You can't just eat gobs of protein, because protein can be converted into glucose, and then you're back to where you started. Plus, the burning of that is dirtier. And I'm just going to say that. I'm not going to go through the whole thing on it, because I'm not going to do it justice. You can get the book or read it. And so what happens is, by following this thing where you have a higher fat, but a certain quality fats, like no corn oil, no safflower, no canola, none of the grain oils. It has to be, oddly enough, saturated fats, and oddly enough, animal fats. Lard, he recommends. I mean, I'm thinking, wow, when's the last time I heard somebody recommend lard? Because that type of oil has saturated fats, which your body's supposed to have, and it has certain kind of ones, like olive oil, extra virgin real olive oil, and avocado oil have these omega-3s, which are in very rare form these days. And so by doing this, you will clean out your body. Your body will literally eat itself as far as getting bad and dead and weak cells and whatnot. You'll do that, and it'll create enzymes to dissolve fat, and so it'll dissolve the fats that you eat. But you got to be careful on what fats. There's good coconut oil. Big thumbs up, right? Coconut oil, super virgin, real, gosh darn honest, organic olive oil, because there's a lot of fakes out there. They add oil in it. Sometimes they don't even tell you. And he even recommends the meats. He's not a vegetarian. I myself am, so I have to look for other sources of protein, eggs and cheese and so on, because he warns you about too much protein, but I don't have a good protein source in meat, so I can do that. And I've done this literally a week. Starting tomorrow will be a week. My first day I did it officially. It took me a couple of days of weaning into it. I cannot tell you how better I feel. I have more energy, my brain is thinking, I got ideas. I did some projects around the house. I have no aches and pains. I used to get up in the morning and ache and pain, bloated. I've lost 20 pounds in a week. Now, I'm sure a lot of that's water, because if you have a lot of glycogen from glucose, according to his book, 4 molecules of water per 1 molecule of glycogen. When you burn off the glycogen, you lose the water. So I'm sure a lot of that has come from that. Plus, your body will be inflamed and store water in between its cells. So when the conditions, but my point is that it's made to, your body is made more to burn on fat. If you go back to the paleo days, which is a popular diet, but again, there's a little too much protein in it. This is where he warns them. But they didn't have any kind of processed food. There was no sugar in the classic sense. So all your sugar was locked into complex food. So you had grains in the summer, you ate salted meats and fats in the winter. You had this breakup. Well, now we have this stuff all the time, anywhere in the chips and whatever. Even worse, combining oil and simple carbs. Because now simple carbs does your insulin. Your insulin makes fat. No insulin, no fat. So if you don't trigger your insulin, you don't make fat. And if you train your body to eat fat, you give it the good fat, plus it eats your fat. And it clears up and cleans up the mitochondria for the healthy soul. I recommend the book. I bought the book on tape, and I'm going to now buy the book as a reference. because there's a lot of charts and whatnot in there I want to have, and I want to refer to it. So big thumbs up for the Fat for Fuel by Dr. Joseph Mercola. If anybody's got anything they want to add to that, like, oh yeah, Mercola, this, that, and the other thing, well, let me know. But I only have a week under the belt. And he says another thing, if you have cravings for sugar stuff, once you burn fat, you won't have it. I don't have it. Or at least they're controllable. Like, I want to have ice cream, I go, nah. You know, I will say that I have had experience with fasting before, and I just came off a fast for Easter. And if you could fast for a few days, you can kick it into fat-burning mode real fast. And then you come off of that doing this diet. I don't want to call it diet. It's actually what you should eating this program. If you do that, it'll be quick to do it. So if you've ever fasted before, you already have the experience, this would be great to do. You fast into it and then come out with that. Now I'm going to look to see. Let me go back to here. So I'm going to look to see if I got everything. I'm going to get rid of that. Oh, yeah, one other thing. It just never stops, does it? Oh, yeah, I got another thing. Solar flare. Now, actually, the solar flare is hitting us as we speak. So I don't see any things out of whack at the moment. But let me go to this. RT seemed to have a good deal, a good version of it. There we go. This RT article seemed to put all the pictures together where you can see the actual flare taken off. And there it is on that. Stereo A shows it. Let me go down. I think this one's a little nicer to see the last go. And then Bluey. Now this is very, there's a couple things I want to say on this. First off, it's not giant. So probably won't do any like damage, not going to knock out satellites or nothing like that. But what's important is if you look at the sun, there's nothing going on the sun. Like a cue ball, a yellow cue ball, if it's yellow. And yet, I'm going to cut the sound out of it. It's just classical music. Here's a picture from NASA Solar Dynamics Observatory showing as the sun rotates, showing this one sunspot. Well, you know, there's a group of little ones here, you know. And you can see this little dot is the size of Earth. God, it always amazes me, the size of the sun. And now it's facing toward Earth, right? And but this is why they talk about going into a solar minimum and all this stuff. We'll see, it's going to be quiet and whatnot. The issue is all it takes is one. It's like if you have everything planned. All it takes is one thing coming from left field. And the size of that sunspot was pretty good. What kicked out of it is not a tremendously large flare. And so it will give, you'll see maybe some communications might be disrupted a little bit. The aurora and all that will go. But it just goes to show you that when you have a cue ball sun and you think, the sun's not active, it can't do anything, but booey, here it comes. And so I've always maintained that a solar flare is probably our weakest link because we're so dependent on electronics, and so many electronics go through satellites. And when you get to the electrical poles, bringing both phone and, more importantly, electricity, there's in the chat room, Tip and Turtle mentions that BP Earthwatch covers the solar activity pretty well. Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen them a lot. So I can put that link in there too if I think about it. I got to get the ball rolling here though because it's getting late. I've already been an hour and I got less visible, and then I got to start updating these links before I hit the sack, and I got to go. If I don't even have to work, if I got a fun share, people can fun, or not fun share. Yeah, it'd be fun. Crowd share. I could do so much more, but that's okay. I mean, here I am. I do what I can. So, all right. So let me go to less visible. And any comments on this, you can put at the bottom of the video. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe if you are new and you want to see more of this stuff. The reason why I bring up the solar flare is because of the weakness of it and how damages. It already has happened back in the early teens where the flare was so big that telegraph wires burned down. That ever happened to us? Yeah, suspicious observer. There's another one. Hey, you know what? That's who I was thinking of when I was reading that BP Earthwatch. Suspicious observer is the one that I have seen. That at least he does. His presentation is really good too. So, all right, we'll leave it at that. We'll come visit less visible, and I will wrap it up at the end. And I think I got everything. Here we go.
Oh, welcome, my friends, to Dog Poet Transmitting, the radio broadcasting edition of it. And all the usual salutations apply, those given you by the Arcturian Brotherhood and the Sirius Cluster, as was mentioned here a few months ago. But then you may not have seen it, and we'll talk about some of that shortly. However, the saucer pod went into the shop at the Sirius Cluster. They're the only people really capable of servicing my unit. Don't misinterpret what I mean by that. Anyway, and it's been a few months, and I haven't heard from them or anything like that, and I've got a certain amount of light years on it, and so I had to go in for servicing. I don't know how much time I'm supposed to be involved in servicing a unit like this. I've never had it happen before. No one's emailed me or sent me a telepathic burst of spontaneous communication, and we'll just have to wait and see. Now, even though the saucer pod is faster than light, it moves at the speed of thought, more or less. Depending, because some people think very, very slowly, and some people think very fast. Let's say if there were a common denominator for the speed of thought, right around that speed. I don't think it's been measured in any comparative way with anything, but I'm pretty sure it's faster than the speed of light. Now, I have a bit of a dilemma. Oh, it's not a big dilemma, but it's a dilemma. I hate reading the Zionist-controlled, satanic, crass media. I got no use for it. And I really don't like having to say that because that puts me on all their lists and explains why I get increasingly more marginalized and very odd things happen. Then again, it's all the ineffable, and that's where I rest all of my concerns. And as far as I'm concerned, they have no power whatsoever, these feckless, frenzied fiends from some very, very bad place. Anyway, I don't like having to do this, but I mean, I couldn't write a number of the things that I write if I did not do this. Subsequently, I do wind up reading it. I don't know how people take the stuff I write about sometimes. I suppose there are people who wish I would write only about the ineffable and related subjects of that sort. At the same time, I believe it is my job, along with a lot of other people's jobs who actually aren't doing it, but it is my job to do what I can, to say what I can about the ugly lies that are being manufactured and spread all over the planet every day, and whose intention is the destruction of the family unit, which leads to the destruction of civilization. But this will follow the United States being fully and completely plundered and looted by the usual suspects. We like to do the will of the ineffable as much as possible. We believe it is the will of the ineffable as much as we're able to understand it. And I believe that love creates a vibrating highway of grace over which the thoughts and words of the ineffable transmit to me. And for the moment, I'm sticking with what works. And chances are that, in that case, this particular method will not change. If you follow our sites, then you know they've been in a state of chaos for months. And a lot of people have trouble communicating with us. People have trouble making comments. People have given up. Comments are way, way down. It used to be we would reach tens of thousands of people every day, but various things happened to get in the way of that. I guess I blew a valve in a number of locations. India, Mexico, East Germany, Hawaii, various places where things got unloaded on me that I didn't quite expect, nor did I intend for them to happen, but yet again, they did happen. I don't know what that has to do with the readership going down, but it has a lot to do with my not being listed on certain websites anymore. And then so we kind of bottomed out at a few thousand visits a day. And I don't know what we're up to at the present, but then I went and looked and checked recently, and we're about at the same place. So I don't know what that has to do with the lack of communication and the rest of that that's been going on. I'm keeping my mind empty of concerns like that.
I know, that's about all I got. That's about all I got.
Let's area of things. I know that the ineffable is 100% in charge of everything. And so what have I got to be concerned about? I reach who I'm supposed to reach, and maybe a whole bunch of people, it's not necessary for me to reach them, or they're being reached by something else. Or maybe I'm not as up to my task as I should be, and I'm working on it, you know, I am. And hopefully the time will come when I will be up to this task. Oh, blurring in and out. Very good, very good, very good. Anyway, there are many personalities that have emerged out of the wreckage of my temporary self as it has been dismantled and otherwise warped, spindled, folded, mutilated through the course of events. And sometimes all of them must suffer from the antics of one unsubdued persona. Sooner or later, though, all of yourselves come into alignment. You don't know the day when your troubles are meant to subside, to go in a remission, that you must just keep going. You have one critical thought to keep in mind. What is your objective in this life? That determines so much. What are you after? What are your intentions? What are you doing with your time? Who do you emulate? What are you after? Because by God, you may very likely get it. That's very good news, and that's very bad news. Yes. You become the embodiment of what you practice and pursue. That becomes the totality and sum of you. You become that. Seek the ineffable, and the ineffable will consume what is not you in the fire of his love. And he will reveal what you are in the light of his love. Everything else that is going on in this life is just something going on in this life. These are mere events, and all of them, one way or another, are directed to bring you home to your distant origins, of which for many, they don't really have any thought of that whatsoever, but for some of us do. But when you look at every event, every concern, everything that comes up in your life as being part and parcel of the ineffable dealing with your soul, You can see everything in a new light. You don't have to worry about anything anymore. There's no point to it. There really isn't. Now, you know, I went through some very difficult periods, one after the other, for decades and decades of my life. I very rarely had any season of ease. But then I got to Hawaii, and the last tragic thing that happened to me, and the ineffable said, Visible, there isn't going to be any more of this. I tried my best to break you and to dissuade you from your pursuit of me, and it has not worked. So, you need not be concerned with that anymore. I am, in fact, about to unleash or release or bestow blessings upon you that you are not even capable of imagining at this time. I will have to lead you step by step to a point where you can even imagine what's happening to you. And lo and behold, since that time, something about a year and a half ago, or whatever it was, 2 years, you know, time doesn't have a whole lot of meaning to me anymore. In any case, that's how it's been. All of a sudden, now for at least a year and a half or more, fantastically wonderful things have been happening. My life has been extremely stable. I've been around all the right people. But you know, I have gotten to that point with my life. There's so much misfortune and such that's taken place, where I've gotten chronically into the habit of waiting for the other shoe to drop. And so I feel like I'm being tracked by a herd of centipedes, really. I mean, if you think about it. In any case, my friends, our show has been reduced from 15 minutes to 12 minutes now. So we are going to have to take a flyer on you. And we realize it's probably been disjointed and not as together as some of our communications have been. It's like that sometimes. But hopefully you did get some value out of some of the things I said. And the most important thing is to keep you keeping on. And if you can use me as an example of the kind of things that can happen to a person, and then the kind of things that can happen to a person, then maybe you'll become more relentless and determined, and you won't give up so easily. And that's really what I'm all about with all of that, and why I keep coming around, and why I keep talking to you, because I want to encourage you to keep on keeping on. Okay, my friends, we've come to the end of another broadcast, and I will see you next week if there is one. In the meantime, rock steady, stay strong, let your faith build with each new day, and grace will come to you. Grace is what you need, but you must have the faith to produce the power to trip the reservoir, the limitless reservoir of grace that it may spill down into your life. My friends, that said, Hare Krishna. Much love, Lady Nature. Nicham Ambu Guru Bawa. Allah Akbar. Hail, Lord Jesus Christ. Greetings, my good friend, Lord Ganesh. Om Amitabha. Aloha and I run a bit over 12 minutes, my friends. I'll try to cut back next week. God bless you, one and all.